So the Mishnah presents us with the events of the Seder. You'd had your Kiddush, and then there's a series of things that occur, and essentially what the Mishnah speaks about is a mysterious karpas experience, which means as follows. Generally speaking, karpas, we use any vegetable other than lettuce, because lettuce is going to get us into problems, because it's exactly what you use for the moror, which comes after the matzah. Our Mishnah says, what happens when you had lettuce as your karpas? Do you need to do it again? Or that's implied by our Mishnah. And it says that if you initially bought lettuce, eat it. And then you're going to have another round of lettuce after the matzah's already been eaten. And we have to delve into what is the significance for us of the double dip lettuce experience. Comes along Reish Lakish, and what I'd like to focus on today is a summary of what the sugya is talking about, coupled with a methodical analysis of each and every stage. And in the Gemara that we're going to see, which presents the dispute of what is the relevance of double-dipped lettuce, there's going to be 6 parts. A presentation of Reish Lakish, a rejection, a further question upon him, his resolution, a question on the resolution, and a final conclusive resolution for Reish Lakish. Let's see how it all begins. And I'm going to go in the words, because essentially these 6 parts, and I want to get high resolution over here. I want you to be able to see in the words of the Gemara exactly how these nuanced shifts take place. The first 2 parts of the Gemara, the presentation of Reish Lakish's point and the following rejection, are complex parts. They are single parts in terms of the directional flow of the sugya, but they're comprised of subparts. Reish Lakish has got 3 parts to him. The rejection also has 3 parts to it, and then we have another 4 parts following. So I want you to see in the words, look carefully inside your Gemara. Reish Lakish says, Reish Lakish, Zois Omeres, this is to say, mitzvahs tzrichas kavanah. Bold statement of Reish Lakish. He comes into the Gemara and he says, I look at the Mishnah, I see that you've eaten lettuce for karpas, you've done it once, and then I see you do it again. Zois Omeres, this tells me, mitzvahs tzrichas kavanah. In this dilemma as to what is the fundamental point of your spiritual practice, is it the act of the performance of your body that does it, or is it a performance coupled with an intention to do so for the purpose of fulfilling a mitzvah? What is it? Is it enough your body did it, or do you need an intention? Reish Lakish says, I will show you from our Mishnah that it's categorical that you need the accompanying attention. And an act of a mitzvah, vacant of intention, has no bearing or relevance to anything spiritual. And therefore, it's perfect. Because in our Mishnah, when you ate the lettuce for the very first time, what were you doing? Do you know what you're doing? You were eating lettuce. But your body ate maror. You were eating lettuce. But you put it down your gullet. You were eating lettuce. Because in order to change the lettuce to maror, you need to have intention. Without the intention, nothing. Reish Lakish, Zois Omeres, our Mishnah tells me, mitzvahs ein tzrichas kavanah. Sorry, that was almost right, but just the opposite. Says Reish Lakish categorically from our Mishnah, mitzvahs tzrichas kavanah. I was just making sure that you're paying attention there. Good, glad you spotted that. Says Reish Lakish categorically, mitzvahs tzrichas kavanah. They must require intention, because were they not to have required intention, and Reish Lakish is about to explain exactly how. First part of Reish Lakish, Zois Omeres, the fact that you eat lettuce twice tells me mitzvahs tzrichas kavanah. Part 1 of Reish Lakish. Part 2 of Reish Lakish. Kiven deloi be'idan chiyuva demarohu do'achile, since not at the time of the obligation of mori eating it. The first reason why we know that you had no intention is because you were eating at the wrong time. You don't eat mori before the matzah, you eat it after the matzah. So you ate it at the wrong time. And the bracha you made on this lettuce wasn't alachilas maro, for eating maro. It was a simple boye priadama. And therefore, v'dil malay kavanah maror, therefore you had no intention to do so for the mitzvah of eating maror. Hilkach, therefore, boy lemahader latbule, you're required to go again and dip it and eat it, l'shem maror. You have to do it for the sake of maror. So the first part of Reish Lakish, declaration, mitzvahs, tzrichas kavanah, and I'll show you why. 2, because you're not eating at the right time, and you're not saying the right bracha. Therefore, you're not intending for maror, you're simply eating it for the sake of eating, and you need to go back and eat it again for maror. That's the first 3 parts of Reish Lakish, describing how he proves to you that mitzvahs tzrichas kavanah. Now, what Reish Lakish is going to do, he's going to also show you, and if you say otherwise, it's not going to work. And these are essentially the next stage of Reish Lakish, so are going to be a further series of parts. Part 4 in Reish Lakish. De'i salka daitach mitzvah loy boy kavanah. Because were you to think, if it would arise upon your mind that a mitzvah does not require kavanah, lamalach trei tibule, why would you need to dip twice? V'ha tavale, behold, you have dipped, meaning eaten it, chada zimna, you've done that once already. So the point of Reish Lakish is it's constructed of the rationale, the declaration of mitzvahs tzrichas kavanah, the proof why that's demonstrated in the Mishnah, and the proof of how if you say otherwise the Mishnah is nonsensical. Let's go through that outside. The reason why mitzvahs tzrichas kavanah is because you're not eating at the right time. You're not saying the right bracha, and therefore you're not intending to fulfill the mitzvah, and that's why you need to go ahead and eat it again after the mitzvah for the mitzvah. Flip side, because if you say otherwise, that simply by eating the maror you'll fulfill the mitzvah, why would you do it again? You've already done it. Clearly, mitzvahs, tzrichas, kavanah. Part 1 ends there. Reish Lakish's presentation, it's complex. He has a series of parts, subparts, but essentially his point is, that's a demonstration from our Mishnah, mitzvahs, tzrichas kavanah. End of part 1. Part 2, a challenge. What? Says the Gemara, what? Mimai. Who said? Mimai. Dilma, la'olam, mitzvahs, ain't tzrichas kavanah. Counters the Gemara and says, perhaps mitzvahs don't require kavanah. If the mitzvahs don't require kavanah, so why in the world would you dip twice? And that you said 2 dippings, why do I need them? The answer is in order that there should be a sign, an awakening, you should pique the curiosity of the children. So really mitzvahs don't require kavanah. And the only reason you're doing it twice is not to fulfill the mitzvah. You've done that already with the first eating. It's to dip twice so the kids should ask, hey, what's going on over here? And that will keep them engaged in the Seder. That's the first part of the opposing side to Reish Lakish. And then he asks a kasha on himself. V'chitema, if it's true what I'm saying, that the reason for the double dip is simply to arouse the curiosity of the children, so then why do I need to teach me lettuce? Just teach me any vegetable. According to Reish Lakish, lettuce is taught specifically to teach me the lesson of mitzvahs tzrichas kavanah. But if this opinion holds mitzvahs doesn't require kavanah, so then, and the only point is to teach me that we have to do it twice to arouse the curiosity of the children, so teach me any vegetable. Why would I go ahead and teach me dafka lettuce? The answer that he gives on himself is, if you would teach me other vegetables, I would have thought, where there are other vegetables, that's when you require 2 dippings. Meaning if the other vegetables, which means when you ate the first vegetable, that was karpas. When you eat the second vegetable, that's moror. But when you only have lettuce, since by eating the lettuce the first time, you would have fulfilled your mitzvah, and therefore you're doing it out of order, I would have suggested that if you have only lettuce, do it once in the right time and don't compromise the correct fulfillment of the mitzvah in order to attract the attention of the children. Komash Melon comes Amish to teach me a massive chiddush. Da'afilu chazeres bo'in and treiti buli. Even lettuce requires a double dip kihechi in order to lahave ba a kere letinokas, that there should be in it a sign, an awakening for the children. So that's part 2 of the Gemara, which is the opposing side demonstrating how you have no proof whatsoever from our Mishnah that it indicates anything about mindset and intention. Actually, its pure purpose is to show the overarching importance of education. And therefore, there are actually 2 Mishnahs that start to emerge from this. Reish Lakish's mitzvah is telling me categorically all about the mindset you need to have when you perform a mitzvah. And the opposing side is telling me categorically about the importance of children being educated, but you certainly have no need to have intention for a mitzvah. And those are the 2 simultaneous realities that evolve out of the analysis of the Mishnah. Comes along the Gemara in part 3 and deals another blow to Reish Lakish. And the Gemara now begins with another kasha. We have statement of Reish Lakish, first kasha in Reish Lakish from the Mishnah, second kasha is going to be from a Beraisa. V'oitanya, says the Gemara in part 3, V'oitanya achlan demai, you ate maror, which is demai. Demai is a category of agricultural products which were bought from an ignoramus, who's not relied upon to do the tithing process, and therefore, letter of the law, it's okay. The Rabbanan, the rabbis create a stringency that you should take meiser again. What happens if you didn't and you ate it? Yotza, you fulfill the mitzvah tomorrow. And then it says, the magical statement, Achlon b'loim iskavein, you ate the maror without intention to fulfill the mitzvah. Yotza, you fulfilled it. Clearly demonstrating mitzvahs ain't tzrichas kavanah. You don't need any intention to fulfill the mitzvah. Achlon l'chatzoin yotza. A side point is that if you ate the maror in stages, you had first half, you didn't have enough the first time, and then you ate the second half, you fulfill the mitzvah. Provided that you don't dally, postpone, have a gap between the first eating and the second eating more than it would take to eat a slice of bread. But nevertheless, from the middle din in the Beraisa, we quote the Beraisa in its entirety, even though the middle din, the middle law is the only one that's relevant to us, we see clearly and categorically, mitzvahs ein in tzrichas kavanah. You don't need kavanah for the mitzvah, and maror, when you eat it without any intention, you fulfill the mitzvah, reinforcing our second opinion, knocking Reish Lakish very hard. Now Reish Lakish is stuck, because Reish Lakish is an Amoira. He can only explain, he can't teach. The Tannaim are the teachers, and neither is a Tanna that says differently to what he says. He's in massive trouble. He has got 2 strategies to defend himself. One would be to reinterpret the words of the Tanna. In this case, seemingly it's impossible because it's stated explicitly. The other one would be to find within the world of Tannaim someone that supports his view and to implicitly suggest that deviant Tanna is the author of our Mishnah, and that's exactly what he does. Says Reish Lakish, Tanahi, it's a machlokes Tanaim, it's a dispute amongst the teachers. The Tanya, we have a Beraisa which tells me, Rabbi Yossi says, Af al pi shetibel b'chazeres, even though you dipped and ate the chazeres for karpas in the beginning of the Seder, mitzvah lehavi lefanov chazeres v'chareises v'shnei tavshilim. It's still a mitzvah to bring him more chazeres so he can eat it after the matzah. And also, of course, the other required things, which is the chareises and the 2 cooked dishes. And therefore, you see that Reish Lakish will say, the author of our Mishnah is the Rabbi Yossi, who's the Tanna of this Beraisa, and he maintains that from the fact that you have to bring him, it's a mitzvah to bring him the lettuce after he's already eaten it. Clearly he didn't fulfill his mitzvah the first time. How not? He ate it. If mitzvahs do not require kavanah, it's inevitable that he fulfill the mitzvah. No, it's not, because mitzvahs, tzrichas kavanah. He needs intention, he didn't have it. And therefore you bring it again, and that is a Tanna of our Mishnah, and Reish Lakish is back up and in the running with his competing understanding in our Mishnah. The Gemara then, in part 5, levels the kasha. Vakati mimai, says the Gemara, not thrown off balance by Reish Lakish's defense. Vakati mimai. And still, from what? Dilma kusav Rabbi Yossi, maybe Rabbi Yossi holds, mitzvahs ein tzrichas kavanah. You can say Rabbi Yossi subscribes to the view that I do, says this opinion. That mitzvahs do not require kavanah. V'hai depo'in and trei tibuli. And the only reason you're bringing it in front of him again, ki heihi dehave hekeira letinokus, in order that it should be a recognizable sign to stimulate the interest of the kids so they can ask a question. And that's part 5, which is a kasha on Reish Lakish. On that, the Gemara responds in part 6, which is a final defense and is conclusive, imkain my mitzvah. So if so, why in the world did Rabbi Yossi use the word mitzvah lahavi? It's a mitzvah to bring. If it's only to stimulate the interest of the students, of the kids, shouldn't say mitzvah. Should say as a heker, as a recognizable sign. From the fact that you used the word mitzvah shows that even though you ate the lettuce, the second lettuce eating is a mitzvah eating. How was it that the first wasn't? Because mitzvah, strichas kavanah, you didn't have the intention. End of sugya. So isn't that great? Do you see how we're defeating the ultimate enemy, the Talmudic student? Vagueness creeps into the sea of words and says, I don't know what's going on. We know exactly what's going on. There's 6 parts. Reish Lakish's statement, the kasha against him, the further kasha against him in part 3, his defense in part 4, the kasha on his defense in part 5, and his final response to that kasha and showing how he's right in part 6. That's a sugya. The points are clearly delineated. Within those first 2 parts, we see the complexity of Reish Lakish's argument, how he starts the declaration, and he justifies why there can be no intent for the fulfillment of the mitzvah, because it's in the wrong time, and you're not saying the right bracha, and therefore you had no intention. And if you did say that mitzvahs do not require intention, so then that would obviate the need of a second eating, and therefore I must be right in my pshat. The person that asked the question says, no, not clear at all. I would really reason that mitzvahs do not require kavanah. And when you ate the maror for the first time, you did fulfill the mitzvah. You'll say to me, so if so, why did it teach me this law of just requiring a double eating to arouse the curiosity of the children with a case of lettuce, which is so obscure, just teach me potatoes? The answer is to teach me a massive chiddush. It's to teach me that even though it will inconvenience you because you'll fulfill the mitzvah in the wrong time, not in the prescribed time after matzah, and you would think, therefore, in that situation, when all I have is lettuce, I should just do it once and forget about the kid's interest. No. Arousing their curiosity is so fundamentally important that you have to do it, even at the expense of fulfilling the mitzvah in the correct way. Then, the Gemara in part 3 issues another kasha at Reish Lakish, brought on a Beraisa, which says explicitly, when you eat it without intention, you do fulfill the mitzvah. Reish Lakish has nothing to respond to that Beraisa other than saying, I have my own Tanna, my own teacher that supports me. That's Rabbi Yossi. And he says, once you've eaten it, there's a mitzvah to bring more. The Gemara says, okay, in part 5, but maybe it's just to bring more to arouse the curiosity of students. No, says Reish Lakish, because if that was true, I would never have used the word mitzvah. And therefore the Gemara ends there. Now, has the Gemara come to a final conclusion? Not at all. Are there 2 workable pshatim in the Mishnah? Yes, there are. Is it teaching us how we can have a single Mishnah which can mean to 2 different perspectives, 2 radically different things? According to Reish Lakish, it's all about how much attention, consciousness, mindfulness you have to have in the performance of a mitzvah, intent to do it for the right reasons. And according to the other opinion, that's irrelevant. You don't have to do that at all. Just do the act. But we're super concerned about the education of children. Stay tuned for more clarity, more vanquishing vagueness soon.